is the Bottom Dead Center Show, presented by OSMT.
All right, welcome back to the Bottom Dead Center Show here on the Old School Monster Trucks YouTube channel. It's a good thing that Gene had his shirt on there. I was going to forget what my show was called, but thankfully he was kind enough to remind me. Hey, it's our season finale of our Bottom Dead Center Show, season 3 here on the Old School Monster Trucks YouTube channel. And what a season it's been. It's had its ups, its downs. We've had some amazing, guests and all that kind of thing on. We've had amazing shows, amazing discussions, some heated discussions, some important discussions. But tonight we're relaxing. We're inviting one of our oldest friends of the show and certainly one of my oldest friends in the business on. And of course, that's none other than Colt Cobra himself, Mr. Gene Patterson. So, Gene, on behalf of Matt and Frank and I, welcome back to the show, my friend. There it is. Snakeskin. Hey, so Gene, you and I, we were on the phone last night for what seemed like hours, and it wasn't long enough, and it turns out it was only like 20 minutes. But we get to talking about stories and things like that, and I know the night can get away from us, but we've got a couple tonight. We gotta pick your brain and your memory on, and first thing right out of the gate, of course, we're getting this show out just ahead of the Bigfoot open house this coming weekend. But it's the 35th anniversary of Snake Bite, and Frank's hat reminds me of that topic, thankfully. But, Gene, tell us, what does it feel like? We're getting right into it here. No preamble, just let's go right for the guts. What's it like witnessing Snake Bite reaching its 35th year now? I mean, I can't believe in 1991 that you thought, all these years later, Snake Bite would still be so relevant and cherished and important by fans everywhere.
Well, I almost went into my Colt Cobra voice there.
Yeah.
You can remember when that truck came out back then, and a lot of people don't know it. But of course, the internet was not around, so you had to do, anytime you wanted to find out about monster trucks, it was in the magazines, which there used to be all kinds. And that's basically me as a kid growing up. That's how I got involved with monster trucks. And I mean, this was Chandler's first ever show in Jefferson City.
Yep.
That I was at. Let's see if I can go up higher. Right there.
There you go. And I have some pictures. I have some pictures from that night as well. I can drop in while we're talking about it.
And I was standing on the pit wall whenever he attempted to go over the cars that night, and that's how I got hooked. And then we went on into the motion, driving for John Breen and for a year, and running with all the TNT people, and I was running against Bigfoot every weekend. Then Bigfoot came along, and I went right to work for Kramer. And then the Hot Wheels. This is gonna be hard to see, but if you can get it, this is what the Nemesis truck was supposed to look like.
Yep, Nemesis.
Yeah, and then once our lawyer staff, how's that, was trying to figure out the name, and come to find out that Ford actually had something to do with the snake. Well, I don't think it was Snake Bite. I think it was just like the snake. Could have been the Cobra. So with us being associated with Ford, then it was easier than to go through a whole bunch of stuff to try to get the team or Nemesis, trademark. So that's how it turned over real fast to Snake Bite. Well, we didn't know what to expect, because when the truck was being built, Hot Wheels sold it to us as they needed a villain truck to go with the Racing Champion line that was coming out.
Yeah.
And they said, because anytime you take a kid to the store, I hate to even let this out. I feel bad, but I don't. They got to have a villain. Whether your brothers and your two, your sister, one's got to have the good one, one's got to have the bad. And they said, we needed monster truck. Well, instead of Bigfoot shopping around with all the monster trucks back then, they said, let's keep it in-house. So we did this whole Snake Bite thing, and we were on our way to Memphis, Tennessee with it for the first Penda race. And I mean, you saw it, the original one, Dan Patterson. God dang, could he paint?
Yeah.
I mean, this dude just laid out some serious. Well, when you paint blue forever, and you get a chance to shine. I mean, this was just awesome. And as we were driving down the highway, Susan, my wife, was with me. Andy, I think Donna and them were riding in the trailer. I don't know. I think Jay Diekman, late great Jay Diekman, was in the semi. We're chatting back and forth on the CB on an upper channel, which a
Yeah.
lot of people don't use CBs anymore.
Yep.
But I came up with the name Colt Cobra from Cobra Creek, Colorado. And we looked up in the Atlas, which Kyle, you'll laugh at that, but we had the big laminated Atlas, and we're flipping and we find Copper Creek,
Yep.
and we'll just say it's a small town close to that. And we just came up with that because the announcers back then could never get your name in your hometown right. Army Armstrong, Dave Bent, all those guys, you had to fill those sheets out every weekend. They wouldn't even look at it. They just make up whatever they wanted to make up. So I said, they're going to have to say this name, Colt Cobra from Cobra Creek, Colorado, every single time. And when we went out to do the photo shoot for 4-wheel, off-road, and all of them, I just slipped on a regular white RJS mask. I don't know why. I have no idea. I guess I'm just a goofball like that. Bob let me go. He didn't even know it was coming. Well, once it hits the stands, then it just took off. And then this is one of the original ones Dan Patrick painted. I still have it. I still wear it from time to time, but as time has gone on, my eyesight hasn't gotten that great, so it doesn't look that great with glasses on.
You look very stately with the glasses.
Yeah,
it's Professor
yeah.
Cobra to you now.
But there's a lot of people even like celebrating this and going to the 35th anniversary. They saw the new truck and they haven't ran Snake for several years, but to be much talked about. They said the souvenir sales was out of the moon this past weekend. To have that vehicle, there's a lot of 3D trucks out there that are still out there running today that still aren't in the same circle as we are with the Snake Bite machine. And I don't know if it had anything. I think it was just a combo with the truck and the characters. And there were some people, why we were running it out of that shop near Bigfoot's shop, they didn't want to wear a mask. And I kept telling them, you've got to carry this on. You've got to keep this going. And Vinny Venom and Ricky Rat, those two guys played, and they had a blast. And that was all it was. And I said, you can go out there and have a blast. You can take anybody out. It's like I took Andy out in Pontiac. And they're just gonna hate you, and that's what you want. And now it's just hard to believe 35 years later, we're celebrating this. I mean, 35 years, like there's trucks out there that have been out there for that long, and they're just a monster truck, like Clydesdale. They're just a monster truck driving around. But Snake Bite is this, it's when it gets here Friday, I think it's going to be even more emotional at the open house.
Well, you make a great point that the appearance of the truck, right? Really the first, 3D accessorized, concept truck, which I'll touch on that again with a question I have here in a minute. The artwork on it was stunning. I mean, that was Dan Patterson unleashed, as you said. That's brilliant, detailed artwork on it. And then the character, of course, brought an element of fun to it. But your driving, all the other two elements were great, but if your driving wasn't as on the edge and exciting and occasionally over the edge as it was, I don't think Snake Bite would have garnered the immediate and instant following that's lasted so long.
No.
And hear me out on this. I'm just thinking this out as I'm saying it here. But if Snake Bite would have started on number 9 instead of number 4, I don't even know then if it would have popped off quite the way that it did, because that version of number 4 you drove was such a ornery handful that it sort of fit the wild man. I'm out here after everybody, but I'm maybe not getting everybody yet kind of Colt Cobra story. What are your thoughts on that, trying to wrangle 4, that arrangement?
And Everett was on us a lot because he said we were taking it into the wrestling stages, but we were having a blast. I never really intended it to be, I guess, adjusted towards the wrestling part. We wanted this whole gimmick thing. I mean, when we went to Pontiac and run a grudge race, I think I had 4. I might have had 9 up there at that time with Snake. Me and Andy. And Bob was on us after the show. He goes, "Go down there and challenge the winner." And it's like, why? We just ran our trucks against each other. We don't need to do that. And Bob, it hurt Bob deep down. And I see it now. And even the second year with the Snake, we had 3 Snake trucks. I mean, all the promoters back then were calling you, like Dave Matthews. We needed one on the West Coast. Pace, SR, whatever. They needed one. I don't know if we had to be doing it, and they needed one. And it's like, holy heck, what happened? But I wasn't purposely doing it. It was just, it's a freaking handful on that truck. And, and then you got Andy barking in your ear. "Oh, you need to drive like this. You need to drive like this." And it's like, shut up. I never even driven a truck like this. You put me on the Penda series, and we had to qualify that truck. BIGFOOT was a guaranteed truck. I think Taurus was. There was 4 or 5 that was a guarantee. But then the rest, they had a lot more that had to. And me, Scott Stevens, with Lee Springs, we're out there busting our butts. And we still got to qualify that truck. So, I remember at Indy one year, we're out there running and it's dark and trying to bump into another spot in the field. So we pushed the truck, and I never did get comfortable in the truck, but a lot of the stuff that happened in that particular truck while we were at BIGFOOT, it helped as the years came on. We changed other trucks, and Bob always used to laugh at me, and I'm just like, well, Kramer had his in primer several times, I'm just, stuff's just away from us.
Well, I mean, that truck finally had, by the time Pyatt was driving it in the configuration and then you took it over, the truck had an injected motor in it that made some pretty serious power, shaved down tires, everything from the frame up was lightweight. Yeah. And then you've got the long travel leafs with the nitrogen shocks. And there was never really a way to truly control the inherent rebound that those leafs are certainly going to deliver. And as you compress those nitrogen shocks, which of course that program was, awesome, but not fully dialed in yet, that truck had a pretty vicious rebound. And as is the nature of something like a leaf spring truck with straight axles, if you land a little bit, on an attitude with it and you come rear down first, of course it's going to want to, shoot you a different way. It's not going to want to automatically track back straight. So to get lined up on a Penda track, I mean, just think about that, everybody. That's BIGFOOT 4 still. And you're lining up on a Penda track. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you don't even want to do in the video game stuff people play now because you just know it's going to go bad.
Yeah. Well, every once in a while you could go ramp to ramp and it would run just great. But it wasn't just us. I mean, Scott had the same problems. If you're a true fan of monster trucks, if you want to go back and dig into some of these old tapes, you'll see a lot of that stuff, even from the TNT days. A lot of them guys with leaf springs, they had to try to configure they didn't know to configure the track to the trucks. They were configuring the tracks just for the people up in the stands. And then once the trucks started advancing, they weren't advanced enough to stay up with the track. And nobody really caught on to that. But I've watched some old stuff, and a lot of guys are clipping that back car just like what we would do, and it would just throw you up in the air.
Yep.
And it's like you got your hands full, you're trying to drive, and the truck weighed 13,000 pounds. I mean, come on, it's just not the same.
Well, and in your case, you'd driven pretty much everything BIGFOOT had up to that point. And then, 4 was an older truck on the number scale, but of course, at that point it was more advanced than 6 or 7, let's say. But that had to be a little funny. I mean, I imagine the leaf spring trucks, they were rough, but they probably felt pretty tight. You know what I mean? Like they're not moving around as much, where 4 moved around a lot on that, front 4-link suspension. And I could see potentially, without even thinking about it, the truck giving you the impression that you maybe need to put a little corrective steering into it, when in reality, maybe it didn't need it. And then you're kind of chasing that potentially the rest of the way down the track. Is there any truth to that?
Well, yes. And if I remember correctly, we changed orbiters on there for a higher speed to try to get it to turn quicker. And, sometimes driver preference, and I'm sure like even the Monster Jam people a lot of drivers don't even know anything about that now, but it's just like a NASCAR. You're trying to make the vehicle fit the driver, what he was comfortable with. So whatever little Andy was comfortable with wouldn't be per se comfortable to me, but we were switching a lot back then. So you didn't really know, or Pine. So you really didn't know. And that's kind of like, the big headers that we put on it. We're trying to make the truck look completely distinct. Obviously, we didn't want it associated with Bigfoot. There was no internet to put that out there, so they didn't know what to do about the headers. And I'm like, you got 2 sets hanging upstairs on the rack. If you remember the rack, or when you was there, we had the balcony.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, okay, so that's why you saw a Bigfoot body on that truck, which we have now as we've restored it, and it still has the headers coming out of the hood.
If I'm not mistaken,
they couldn't put it together. They still couldn't put it together. It was the same truck.
If I'm not mistaken, those were the headers that Kramer originally ran on 6 when you guys tried cutting holes in the hood and running the headers up through the hood.
Well, because we did so many tractor pulls back in the day. And you know it from watching stuff. And you get a lot of them tight arenas. And when Jim would go on, there was always dirt on the concrete. And he just hated that because the regular pulls on TNT, I'm not going to say they didn't give a damn. But the SRO people, they was all about anything that wasn't chromed had to, was spit polished or polished out. So we just hated
like this
blowing
guy
dust
here.
all over. Yeah, blowing dust all over his trucks. And they would actually say something to Jim, and Jim's like, I don't know. So that's what he tried. But he told me he tried it a couple of times. This was before I come to work there. But he didn't like the sound. He couldn't adjust his driving with that stack. It just didn't sound the same.
Yeah.
It didn't, but we were just trying to make it look completely different from Bigfoot 4.
I'll drop some video I found in there in here, but I'll tell you, it does not have like those 80s Bigfoot trucks with the long headers dumping down under the body. You guys know this. They had a purr that was almost entirely unique to those trucks. And when Jim had those, those stacks coming up through the hood on 6, it sounded nothing at all. I mean, it just didn't sound like a Bigfoot truck. So I suppose there's probably.
Yeah. Well, the cross member in number 4 that's in there right now, it still has the cutouts for the headers. Everything was there, and we tried to get Hedman to make a set of headers for us when we restored number 4. And of course, everybody's gone. I mean, these guys, and they're like, well, yeah, we know what you're talking about. Lonnie Childress ran into a guy at the FEMA show. Yeah, just tell us what number it is. We'll make a set. We got guys that's, got a couple guys that don't know what you're talking about. So Lonnie got a hold of him and ordered a set, and we thought it was a done deal. And like 3 weeks goes by, and we don't have no headers. And then about a month, we're getting close to, we got like 2 months or a month left. And set of headers come in. They're for number 14.
Oh,
a rear engine truck. And they don't, and Fred's got them there. There's a brand new set of rear engine coated headers that nobody can use. I mean, I'm sure somebody could use them, but uh, Frank, you guys all know Fred. He ain't gonna get rid of nothing.
no.
They'll hang the wall somewhere. But so we recoated the ones we had, the uprights, and we put them back on.
I
But
think it's for the best, though. They look good,
yeah,
know.
well, to try to make that truck as a to go back whenever we were rebuilding that truck. I mean, we literally probably had over 1,000 pictures that Lonnie Childress
Yeah.
and I took, and there was a lot of things that we could have saved the money on. But when we restored it completely. I mean, if the battery cable had 3 extra feet in it, we put 3 extra feet in it.
For whatever reason.
We didn't want the keyboard racers picking it apart. I mean, it's easy to build a monster truck or a retro truck and not go through the pain that we did with that, to hunt down all the stuff that we hunt down for it. And it's proof every time somebody sees it. We've had it, this will be the 3rd year at the open house, and they all still are in shock that the truck, and even Bob said the truck looked better than when it left the shop the first time. And we're like, well, your eyes are getting worse over time too.
Well, it was a war horse back in the day, so it probably never got to go out fully dolled up back in the day like it can now.
No, you got 2 days to get it put back together. If it's broke in half, it's got to go. You know, there's no time back then whenever we had that many trucks.
Well, that kind of brings me to the next question I had in sort of the chronology of the snake bite stuff is as busy as you guys were. I mean, you're running for practically every promoter under the sun, all the big ones, of course. The Penda series is happening, and somehow you guys find time to record the what should be Emmy nominated volumes 1 and 2 of Bigfoot versus Snake Bite. So I'm not even going to ask how you guys found time in the middle of the week to, dress up and go play make believe. But tell us a little bit about the filming, what you might remember of the Bigfoot versus Snakebite stuff. But most importantly, I'm curious, what was it like doing sort of like the cross country side by side race out in the pasture with you and Andy?
Well, Scott is the one who come up with the script.
Scott Johnson.
And like any script, yes,
okay.
He would change it as we would go. And I know where the test track, which is just a big warehouse now, down from the old shop, or the main shop, I called it, on Lindbergh. We would go, and we're like, here we are right in the middle of a pin to points race, and we're taking race trucks down there and filming this stuff until the motor or the guts would fall out on the ground. And then they'd say, okay, well, get it back to shop so I can put a new motor in. And it's like, we need to quit filming this crap. And it was just, we're filming in the back parking lot, my stuff with Andy and the Apple. And it's just like that you'd be in the middle of something, and all of a sudden here comes the guys and Ralph and Dale with the cameras. Here, we need to shoot this. We need to shoot this. And get online now and try to find them things. I mean, I just bought both boxes because they had the toys still in them, probably a year ago. And I had one of the snake bite ones, and they're still in demand. Yeah. I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, it was so goofy. And after I did the thing in Pontiac with Andy, and when Joe Lowe was, the late great Joe was screaming out, get them apart, get them apart. I mean, people ate that stuff up. And we did the grudge match down in Houston against Digger. I didn't even run against Bigfoot down there. And I mean, they hated me. I mean, absolutely hated me, especially when I act like I dropped my fire suit for them to kiss my butt. They just freaking. And I said, you got the mask on. You can do whatever you want to do. Yes. Nobody cares. And D2 loved it. He went with it. And like I said, when we did the 25th anniversary, and I actually went and done some guest appearances for a winter series they were racing on then. And they went back to the red. I don't remember what number they had on it. The Bigfoot truck. But me and him, we ate it up, and of course you could get it on right then, and people were still pumping up your phones and just eating this stuff up, and I'm just like, what is going on? I mean, so it came in at the right time. Again, I said, I think the whole putting the character in there and keeping it quiet. I mean, when Mark Hall stands up at an MTRA meeting and he says, I want to know who the driver is, and half of the people in there knew who the driver was. So there was no script, and and then we're making this VHS thing that we're thinking this is, and I cut, one time I had cowboy boots on outside my fire suit, and the next time, and then when I went down and did the voiceovers, they said, well, you don't sound like you do on, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm talking like, so some of them we had voiceovers, and yeah, it was, but after I knocked Andy down that one time, he said, you need to tell me before you lay me out. And I go, well, then it won't look right. I gotta, he goes, well, make sure I'm turned around. And I'm like, okay. And that's why we're still talked about today, snake bite and Bigfoot. I mean, it's I really don't have an answer, a good legitimate answer. I'm just glad that they still are, and even 35, just like we just talked about a while ago, that they're still talking about.
Well, I'm afraid to get on eBay and see what either of those VHSs with the toy cost, because it's probably pretty high. But how does it feel to know
the snake bite truck, any racing champion truck? I just bought 4 the other day for $100. He's supposed to bring them to open house. The snake bite ones are so. I mean, we went to. I don't think we had souvenirs in Memphis when we debuted the truck, which we didn't know. And we came up with the idea in our Tuesday meetings like we used to have. I'm pretty sure you probably had them when you worked.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and we came up and we said a snake bite kit. It's a snake bite kit. And Sally found, we put a rubber snake in there, a pin that Dan Patterson did, which you cannot find. I've got one. Just little stick pins, not hat pins, an 8x10, and it was in a pill canister that she found in China or whatever. It said snake bite, Colt Cobra snake bite kit. First place we went, we sold out of them.
Wow.
And it's just like, these are so corny. And even the shirts, we used the drawing of the Nemesis truck because we weren't prepared back then to come up with something, And of course now I couldn't, but somebody else could. You can, Kyle. I'm sure punch a button on your phone and say, hey, draw this up, And it's not.
Well, okay, so just stick with me on this, but I think you guys will probably remember this too. When you could still buy VHSs at like one of those mixed media record stores in the mall or at a Woolworths or a Five and Dime, monster truck tapes were always in what was called the special interests section.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And depending on the store, the special interest section was sometimes really close to an extra special interest section. And without researching, I'm willing to bet that the Snakebite versus Bigfoot box sets might call for the same money on eBay that certain other special interest tapes of a certain kind might call for. So you're in rarefied air there with your VHS appearances.
Frank's he's probably got a full box of VHS tapes too. I mean, I got a full box.
I do.
I got stuff from Pullman.
Absolutely.
Yep. When we were doing Darnell pulls, and I sent that whole box to the our Hall of Fame, and they took a lot of that stuff because there's a lot of people that have been going in over the years, and they were back then. I mean, Rob Fuchs, they used a lot of that 2 years back or 3 years when he went in. So, and I still, when I get fired up, and I think I need to get them over, onto something else, and I don't. They're just sitting there. I've got some good VHS stuff. It's like, what am I going to do with this stuff? And Danny and all those guys, they said, we can put them on disc, but first you got to find a VCR. And a lot of people just put it to the computer and then they just record it on something. But I don't know. It probably takes people coming to my house to get me fired up about doing stuff like that. I mean, when Kramer and them come by here about a month back, Jim walked around and he's just like, I didn't realize you had this much. I said, Jim, I'm still a kid. I mean, I'm 63. I'll be 64, whatever. One of them here this fall, and I've got the stuff I showed you. Those pictures of Bigfoot from way back in, and he's just like, "Where'd you get it?" I said, "I took that." I mean, I've held on to this. Now, there's a lot of stuff I sold when we first moved back to Jefferson City, but the older stuff. I mean, I probably got 100 or more cars down there in tubs. And I mean, it's just, I'm hoping I got a lot of years left that I get my grandkids are playing with them and stuff like that. But my son is too. And it's just, Jim said it yesterday too about old trucks. So, I mean, the audience is still out there. I kind of was on the fence about the new guy driving with the green, which it's had different, Snake Bite's had different paint jobs over the year. They never really stuck with the red per se, but the name stayed with it.
Yeah.
So if you dig into it, there was a bunch of people that drove that truck back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it's made Bigfoot and them guys a place to stop, I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that you always got that one sitting back in the trailer you can pull out every now and then and go do something with it.
I mean, the truth of it is, apart from Andy, I'm hard pressed to think of anybody else driving for Bigfoot in those early years that didn't run a snake bite at some point. And maybe Andy did, like covering off a show or something, but I mean, there's no like iconic show footage of Andy running a snake bite that I've ever seen.
Well, I know what you said earlier. The next year when we went and put it on number 9, it really woke it up. I mean, and that truck, I don't think it reached its potential when Kramer was driving it, or Jim just never really got used to it. But when I was in that truck, I mean, that thing, oh Lordy, I've driven Patrick's truck. Frank, you've driven it. I mean, that Hemi's got some ump.
Yep.
I've driven Van Loo's truck. Long time ago, I did Thumper truck before I ended up with Bigfoot. That number 9 was it just seemed like it just kept, it's kind of like that movie Ford versus Ferrari. Oh yeah, that's the way it felt. I mean, it would tell you once you went over the line what you could do and you couldn't do. But like 10 there was a big gap on 10, but 9 was just like the more you kept giving it, the more it just kept chewing it up. And I mean, I had a blast when I drove that truck. I mean, that was just unbelievable.
I think you landed in that truck at the perfect time, because for the Colt Cobra, storyline, you come back in 92 with literally a different truck. And I remember, being at that Arrowhead show as a kid, and Army Armstrong's talking about, he's got a new truck this year, and he's coming for Bigfoot, and you were in a new truck. So like that truly kind of went along with that. And you were probably receiving number 9 at its peak in some respects. Like the 106s were gone and you had the ZFs, right? The slipper clutch in the Lenko were gone and you had an automatic. Like it was as iconic of a Bigfoot truck at that point, where before that it was kind of a weird experimental test bed almost compared to the more conventional, I feel, number 8. On the show here, we jokingly call that truck the grasshopper because it moved like that. I mean, 1 second it's sitting still and the next boing, it's in the next county, and it just flew by your face on the way there.
Go back and look at the RCA dome, which is where Lucas.
Oh yeah, that was sweet.
We ran that last event there, and I just had the little motor in it. the 500 cubic inch because we blew the motor up. I don't know if we were shooting video or if we blew it up out west, but we were out of motors. So we went back to our little bitty 500, I call it, the small motor that you were supposed to use back in the TNT days. And then Gary Saline put a massive tune-up on it. And that last round, whenever I was running Scott Stevens, when you take off from a dry stop, bring it up about 3,500 and just punch it, and you're having to let off the gas to get it filed down. Even Lyle Hancock with Digger, he had his four-link set up, and he said, I can do that all day long. And then they sit there and watch us. And then the next week, I'm in Pontiac doing it up and down across the floor from a dead stop. Everybody's like, and I'm like, I didn't know we could do it. And it's like, here's a truck that, again, give it to me. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. So as Snake Bite is kind of transitioning away from the initial, like, Hot Wheels Bigfoot Champions sort of, I say gimmick respectfully, to just being kind of a part of the fleet and everything, before that actually happened, there was that push to develop the whole, I think it was called Mega Monsters. Is that right? Like the paintball thing. How far along did any of that make it that you can recall? The Brass Eagle thing and all that.
Just hang on.
He's digging.
This right here. See?
That's it. Yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
With Futurefoot.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, what we were doing, and that was with Scott, I think I was coming up, I don't even know what year that was. But the way the split was coming, and with US Hot Rod, whatever, we were looking for other ways to do shows. And we'd been doing a lot of fairs back then anyway, where we'd usually have Dan Patrick would be with us, and then we'd have Snake Bite, Bigfoot, and it was either 3 or 4 in the tank. And we'd go, and there was fairs back then, that's what they wanted us. You couldn't go anywhere without, seeing this stuff. So we went to that, and think of the guy's name. He'd worked with us before on some filming, and we were going to try to get this show going, and then it just kind of petered out at the end. But that's what it was all about. Was we had the paintball company. We were going to do my Brass Eagle because we picked them up the second year. We were going to use them and basically go to a lot of the arenas and try to do the stuff that SRO later did with the wrestling thing when they had the characters in the trucks. But it just never really made it to the table. Everybody wants somebody else to be paying for it. You don't want to go down in the hole yourself and end up with a product that no one, they're just going to laugh about it because you wouldn't be sharing 50 years with your truck for sure then.
I can't imagine going to the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis and seeing Bigfoot and Snake Bite trading paintball rounds and just stray shots flying into the crowd because there's no way to be a door gunner on a monster truck and hit anything. Like, you guys would have been recruiting like ex-Vietnam helicopter crew chiefs or something. Like, you ran a 60 in Nam? All right, have I got something for you now,
Well, go back and look at that whenever we did that prior to this, when we were doing that whole tug of war thing with Slaughter.
Yeah.
And I did one event with him. We have a Kramer and Big Ron twice. And we were in Philadelphia doing the event. And Philadelphia back then was big into the wrestling thing. So they were more for Sergeant Slaughter and all them guys than they were about the Bigfoot stuff. Man, whenever the part where they're supposed to pull the truck, and I come bailing out of the truck, and I jumped right on top of Slaughter. There was stuff coming out of the stands. People were throwing stuff at us. they're throwing stuff, and slaughtering them are all like, holy crap, you're a lot different than Kramer. You got this place waked up. And I'm like, I got this place. I'm ready to get out of here because they're going to hang me. That's what they're gonna do.
Right.
It's the city of brotherly love.
You always had to look for something. And that even relates over to the snake bite to try to keep the progress of monster trucks moving. You got to have something all the time.
So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here, and then we will also go back in time because for the first time ever, we're opening the OSMT bottom dead center mailbag. Yes, it is a satchel-shaped bag about yay big that holds questions from people. I didn't mean to kill you there, Frank.
Satchel gets me every time.
It's all them cigars.
You'd have been the guy in the quiet baseball game, and now up to bat, Satchel Paige. It's Frank's over there. Like, get this guy out of the stands. We're trying to play a ball game here.
Yeah.
Oh, Satchel Paige reference on bottom dead center. Boy, are we going back in time today. Hey, so while we're talking about playing, character roles and villains and stuff like that, some of the boys wanted to know during the Monster Trucks 2000 thing, which we kind of touched on that, the first time we had you on the show. But as far as when 11 rolled, because you were driving 11 with like the Stinger looking body on it. Yeah. And that thing rolled, and that was not part of the script. I think if you were supposed to go to the finals against Runty, right?
Yeah, I was one of them that was supposed to. I kept telling them. Of course, I was working in the office at the time because that was my second go around. I was in marketing and helping book trucks, helping sign sponsors up, and then I would fill in when they needed help. And we went down there because we needed drivers. And I was driving the truck, and I had never really driven on sand. And Frank, I'm sure you guys, everybody can tell. If you run on sand, it's completely different. And it just felt really soft in the back, like it was bottoming out every single time.
Now he'll be racing against Scorpion this evening, and its driver, Gene Patterson. Patterson's got that evil look in his eyes. This is a man full of arrogance, and all that gives him a big advantage in this sport.
Yeah, and keep in mind, folks, Big Daddy and Itty Bitty Daddy do not associate themselves with losers. Some rough, shady characters maybe, but definitely not losers. And if you don't like Scorpion, you do have to respect him. That is a definite.
Okay, here we go. Fourth quarterfinal matchup. Bigfoot on the left, Scorpion on the right. Jerry, take it away.
This is what racing's all about. Who needs Viagra, Rooney? Let's get it on. Good start by both drivers coming out of the gate. Scorpion on the lead, taking that first bend. Come over the first jump. Steve McGarrett, ride the wave, baby. Hawaii 5-0, ride the wave. Bigfoot now coming down on a second turn. You talked about that methanol jazz fuel. You can smell that as they go by here. Smells like victory for somebody tonight.
Look at them go toe-to-toe. Never thought we'd see this happen. Each of these trucks with 1,200 horsepower, Jerry.
You can feel that energy. Here they come now. Turn 3 coming around. Bigfoot, slight lead. You really can't tell till they come around that bend who's got the lead. And down a stretch they come. Bigfoot, they're going for that final jump. Scorpion's right out of his tail. Bigfoot, oh, he almost buried the nose. Scorpion, he's lost. He lost it. He's rolling. He's rolling 10,000 pounds of rolling. Oh, my God, I don't believe it.
Well, now keep in mind that these trucks are designed for safety, and the drivers are belted in securely with all kinds of protective gear. Rarely does anybody get seriously injured, but let's just hope that's the case tonight, that no one's hurt.
Now in Nashville, it was a positive in Indiana. We keep our fingers crossed it can be the same thing. You see, Dan Runty almost lost it when he came down, and then same thing happened to Gene. Nose came in very too tight, way too tight. He just rolled this thing. It's a great sport, but when stuff like this happens, you wonder if it's worth it. You really have to wonder if it's worth it.
And, Jerry, we've got behind us right now, the viewers can't see, but an ambulance is out here on the course just in case.
Wait, there he is. Gene Patterson, he's okay. He's standing, obviously shaking. Pam Vale, Mr. Murphy alongside there.
And now he's waving. Oh, he's okay. He's telling the crowd he's all right.
And, Gene, one more time, what's your feelings on this? Do you expect any foul play here?
There's definitely something going on around here, and we're just not happy about it. But we've got another truck out there, and I tell you what, Bigfoot, he might think he's a star, but stars are going to fall tonight.
Will there be any?
And I kept telling Jim and him when we were out there practice, said, there's something messed up in the back of this truck. It doesn't feel right. And he's like, oh, just be quiet and drive it. And I'm like, okay, I'm telling you, something about
Yes, is that right?
Yeah.
You know, when I came out of the turn and I'm mad at it, and it just bottomed out, it done that flip over thing. And it's like, oh, hell, here we go. And everybody's like, why'd you do that? I'm like, I told you, you know, you can't. Sometimes we can cut back, we can back up a little bit from the other guy you're racing, but you want to make it look close.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just, you know, because it was a scripted show, you don't want to make it just the person turns it off at half, and then that's what happened. Yeah, and it was awakening for me too, and that was my second or third one. And I'm like, man, I don't know if this is really going to work out for me. You know, because there's guys that got talent, and there's guys that, you know, I don't really want to go over to the people from North Carolina, and that man's last years, and Frank, you ran with him, and you know, but you could tell when he was done. When he was out on the track racing, and he was done, he's not looking for something to hit. He's looking for something to hit and turn over so he can be done. It's like, I am done. And that's when I crashed and was wondering when the truck was going to stop. I'm like, we're approaching a lot of boundaries here that no one's ever gotten involved with. And until the safety side of it catches up to us, I think, which, you know, where we're at now, which it is completely different.
You accounted for yourself pretty well, and you held the storyline as flimsily tied together as it was to begin with. You held it together pretty good despite being visibly concussed, I feel like, after that. So, I mean, credit to you on that.
Well, I know when I rolled down there in Houston, it was the best of three for our grudge match. And as we were going down the tunnel to go on the track, Bob came on our radio, one of our makeshift radio setups that we had, and he says, you do not lose. It was the best out of three against me and Dick. And I think Lyle was driving down there too, maybe. Anyway, I won the first one, and then the second one I blowed him off, and Lyle's like, and then I crashed, I guess. And Lyle's, oh, I see how you're going to be. And then we come back for the third one. But it was like we weren't going to give in. But then I walked across the floor after I told people to kiss my butt, because then that's when we first started doing freestyles. Mm-hmm. So even though I won all three rounds, then they wanted to do the freestyle, and that's when freestyle was being invented. And we per se weren't the greatest at freestyle, but a Gravedigger truck was, and you know that. I mean, they just had to say the name and they won freestyle. And I stood up on the roof of the truck as it idled across the floor. If you go, you'll have to find a video. I was one of the first ones to do that. I didn't know you could do it. And Bob Chandler was up in his wherever office with Donna. And she looked at Donna, who worked for us at that time, and said, can he do that? And she looked back at him and said, he just did. And he just had a jaw drop. Like, we would invent stuff to go because we're just trying to keep the whole vehicle, the whole persona going all the time. And I mean, it's the same way today. You're always just trying to move to the next step because you want to keep out there. You want to keep, everybody is. You can ask them, they say, oh, no, I'm happy. No, you're not. Frank, you've worked around a lot of these newbies. They're all like that. They want to make a name for themselves so they can keep it, you know. But it's
absolutely,
it's totally different truck now from what it was back in the day. And I saw you driving the other day. It's like, loosen that screw up on the throttle, dude. What are you doing out there? Just idling around? What are you doing?
Hey man, I got all the way to the final round, Gene, and lost to. Hey, by the way, I'm the last guy to lose a snake bite in 35 years, and I'm okay with that.
Good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
There you go. All right.
I'm okay.
we couldn't have you on the show, Gene, if he'd have beat Snake Bite. That just would have ruined everything.
Hey, I'm wearing Snake Bite's hat.
There you go.
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
I know.
That Victory Venom, that Victor E. Venom is a good dude.
Yeah. It was really cool to watch the video, and there were several years that I was out of the picture, and but I would show up at different events, and a lot of people come up and talk to you. And I mean that's just it. We look back on a lot of stuff like we're talking now, and everything had a story back then. It seems like no matter, even in the Kyle's generation of driving, we all had stories. Where most of today's stories are, hey, my flight's delayed. What am I going to do? I need another plane. I need another plane to pick me up.
Yeah.
You just don't get to hear a lot of this old stuff. And there's people out there that want to hear this stuff, what we're talking about right now. Because without the internet from back then, you got no way. Unless somebody puts it on and scans all this stuff and puts it out there, nobody really knows. I mean, you guys know.
Yeah.
But it's just hard. And I mean, you're putting us back out there again. And, even Kramer said yesterday he's forgotten more stuff but when he sees stuff, it brings it back.
Yeah.
And I said, it's good for all of us. It keeps us young.
So I want to share a couple quick snake bite stories of mine here, and then I'll yield to the guys in case they have a couple of their favorites. But so many of the memories you make as a monster trucker are on the road, right? Like, yes, shows are always going to be memorable for some reason or another, but it's the over the road part that make a lot of memories. And we've all hauled monster trucks, or at least I know Gene and I have, on open trailers before. Frank, maybe you've hauled a ride truck or something on an open trailer. Yep. But back in the day, Snakebite was riding inside a Bigfoot trailer. And so I remember when I met you for the first time at Arrowhead as a kid, Gene, and I always bring this story up, but it's always worth bringing up. But at Arrowhead, where they had the pit party out in the parking lot outside the tunnel, every monster truck's parked, behind its hauler. So you got Andy in number 10 behind his hauler, and then you were in basically the twin to that pair of 48-foot Kentuckys that they had, and I think they still have, although they're retired. Which is crazy as I drop the photos into the episode here that, I mean, I ended up working and living out of both of those trailers at some point while I was at Bigfoot, which, that says a lot about a lot of things, I suppose. But as Snakebite is parked behind a Bigfoot trailer, as an 8-year-old, I came up to you and I distinctly remember accosting you like, aren't you just a Bigfoot truck? You have a Bigfoot, and I caught you off guard, I think. And you're just like, they're just helping us out, kid. And you signed my stuff and sent me on my way. I'm sure you probably want to say, shut up, kid. You're ruining the, kayfabe or whatever Justin says the wrestling term is. But
yeah,
go ahead.
Kyle, always had to come up with something because there was people out there. And that's why, like the trailer that we had, when we had it on 4, I had the old Black Hawk. And it never really had anything on it. Cool stripes. I mean, that was a great looking rig. And then later, and it had to be, I don't know when, but because I didn't even notice it, but the first year we had it in there, would have still had the Bigfoot on the back that Patterson would have painted inside the truck. Well, I come across some photos, I guess, from when we were in Memphis, and it had a snake bite on it. And I'm like, when did they do this? How did I not know this? Wow. And I think it was when I went into 9. Well, anyway, when I went into 9, I went with just a white trailer. Of course, we had to put Ford on it. It said Ford Trucks, the best never rest.
Yeah.
And then we had a white semi, and it said Bigfoot. And we'd always, God, Kyle, you make me feel so bad lying to kids like that back then. We broke down there, and we had to stop by there. And they really liked us, so they gave, okay, yeah, because I know that's Bigfoot's truck. Yeah, you know everything, kid. You got it going on. Now go.
Sorry.
Frank, Kyle and Gene, the one thing, because I was sucked in as a little kid in the early 90s, I was sucked in at Snakebite was Bigfoot's enemy. But then when I got a little bit older, I saw the blue shocks on Snakebite. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You know what's embarrassing me right now? as both of you guys keep saying, when I was a little kid, I met you. When I was a little kid, I met you. Can you say something else? I mean, this does not make me
when I
feel
was
like
younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
yeah, there you go.
how about shortly after I was born? We need to talk
Yeah.
about some trucks you drove, Gene.
Yeah.
So, Chris Mormanis wanted to know more about that Thumper deal, and I admit, and maybe the guys on the show here knew this, but I didn't know you ever drove Thumper for any events at all. So, shed some light on
Yeah.
that for us.
Well, this was in between Bigfoot and Breen, and I was working with another team local here that had a mud racer. I think it was called Magnum Force. It was Kurt Fisher, and we went to the old track at Nashville. That's where it was at, the original Speedway, and TNT was doing a show there. And I was just walking around in the pits and ran into the Daggetts and said something about I was looking for blah, 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 and he's like, okay, well, you can drive my truck and I'll pay you. It could have been $200 a round or $100 a round.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever it was, because I said, well, all right. I didn't even have a helmet, and I drove Clint's, and I think I went 2 or 3 rounds, and I come back and they're working on it, trying to keep it going. They're like, man, Dad's never even run this truck this hard. And I'm like, it's got a blower on it motor. It sounds like it's going, I remember coming in the infield one time turning, and I looked out the door and seen a lot of the other monster truck guys running for the pits because I was just like hauling out. Chrome parts are flying off the truck. And that was and I was pretty close to signing with him because he was one of the first that had a semi too. And he had a trailer set up kind of like what Sampson had, with a box on the front.
Yep.
Open trailer. And I knew after driving for Breen for that first year that was something that I really had my heart in, and I was going to do something to make. But yeah, that was the only event I really drove it in. So, and it was pretty close to signing with him. And then I ended up getting a hold of Kramer.
So tell me about driving for the Breens. What were they like to drive for? And I only ask because I've seen a clip of you driving, and it looked like you were receiving some pretty stern driving instructions from one of the Breens down on the ground. So
when I first met John, go way back, and it goes back to that picture that I showed earlier about when it was John and Bob. I'd see him around Jefferson City and driving. And at the time I was working with some guys, and we built a pulling truck, a Chevy pulling truck. It was called Rat Fever. And John would be at events or drive through Jefferson City and stuff. And then when he started building the Mad Dog 2 truck, I stopped by there. And even though I had to be in my 20s and done all the photos of it that got put in the magazine from the build-up. And he took me on the road with him one time. And then when he started building that racer truck and he built the Stomper that he drove for a year, or close to a year, I went with him just occasionally because I had other jobs. And that's when we was up there in, the Sassy Massy guy back then. He's the one who used to put the show on up there in Cook, New Hampshire, if I remember right. God, I can't think of their names. They'd made Hemi horsepower like anything else. Anyway, John just threw the keys to me and he said, "You're going to drive next year." And I'm like, he said, "Yeah, Bobby doesn't want to drive." I'm like, "What do I do?" And he just said, "Just when you can't see the cars anymore, just flat it, mash her to the floor." And I'm like, "Okay." And he said, "When you feel the back hit, let off." I go, "Okay, you going to ride with me?" He goes, "I'm going to ride with you and let everybody laugh at me out there. You're going to be able to get back there." And that's how I started driving for him. And we did that first year together. And we had some good times. I mean, he was back building the other truck. And then when Bobby decided to start driving, that's when I found myself looking out. And I mean, we're still great friends today. I didn't have anything against him. In fact, he was at my last radiation chemotherapy one I'd done in January. I was still laying on the bed finishing up my radiation or whatever, and they just finished and they pulled me out, and all of a sudden I hear John, and I'm like, what in the hell? And he's like, I wasn't going to let you go through this, you son of a bitch. Get up off that bed right now. And I'm just like, he's still the same guy.
Still giving you stern trackside advice.
Yeah. When we went down to the Unfinished Business show, it took forever to get him to go down there. But when we left that show and come back home, I mean, that man, it probably shaved 10, 20 years off of him. Same way it does me talking to you guys. I mean, I have a blast bringing there's too many out there, unless you run into that dad that's got 2 or 3 kids, that has explained to them how monster trucks all got to where they're at. A lot of them only see what they see right now.
Right.
The stuff from way back when, oh my God. We went up Pikes Peak, and, I tell people we took Stomper Bully to the top of Pikes Peak. Well, how'd you get it down? I said, we loaded it up and drove it down. You run it down on the back of the gooseneck down that hill? And I'm like, yeah, why? Oh, you guys are stupid. And I'm like, I was riding in the back seat. I didn't have no problem with it.
I'd have been ready to bail out, though.
Yeah, Breen, you walk around his farm down there, you'll see stuff laying in the woods, and it brings back memories for him. And yeah, he was a real hoot, I got some pictures from one of the truck pulls from photographer that used to do a lot of stuff at the pulls, and he sent it, and Stomper Bully's clearing these cars, and John got them first. And he throws them on the kitchen table, and he's like, what's this all about? And I'm like, I don't know. I go, it's still together. And, and it's like, he goes, man, this is pretty cool. And then I've got some when we did a Jeff City show, and I was crushing cars with it. And the dealership wanted him to drive because they were friendly. He's like, nope, that's my driver. And I standing it up back, I know this is, people are trying to figure out what cars are. What are you talking about driving over cars? Yeah, well, that's what we all used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
And I'd stand it up, and I got pictures. I don't have one up here, but stand it up like this, and you look over there, and here's John over there standing. He's going like this, And I keep that picture. That'll be one of the pictures I'll hold on forever. But
that's amazing.
They knew Bob, and I mean,
Yeah.
They go way back. I know people don't. They can't remember stuff like that.
John rode with Bob and Bigfoot 1 at that first crush, one of the two days in Jeff City, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and when he had Mad Dog 2, he had mirrors like Bigfoot did, and I mean, him and Bob were really close. In fact, the set of tires that was on Stomper Bully came from Tam on them when they had the photo shoot of number 2 with the stripers on it. And a lot of people don't know that they all go back that close together, but yeah, they used to run to Lesterville when they weren't doing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some stuff at Lesterville. I wished it would have came later when I was there to be able to go back to have that much fun down there.
Oh yeah.
That was, God dang, there's the stories that can be told from down there.
Well, I found a photo album online on somebody's Facebook group from Lesterville, and man, there were 7 or 8 different monster trucks at any given time that seemed like they were running around down there recreationally, even Taurus. I mean, now I can't imagine being down there trying to get my drink on and, hang out in the water, and then here comes that big ass blower motor Taurus. Through the bushes, like, oh shit.
When they took his down there once, and they said, trying to put the tires on out there in that old gravelly crap, he goes, forget this ain't worth it. He comes back, I don't care how much fun it is, but Bob got his start down. And then when I was working at the old shop, I don't know what truck, we took the Ranger down there and the tracks. We wanted to shoot Scout wanted some calendar shots. So Bob come out and he goes, hey, I'll buy lunch. Let's load up and go down to Lesterville. And we're like, okay. So I drove the Ranger, had a 3-wheeler in the bed of it going across that dam, and it just looked like a like you see now, megas going across the dam. We were jumping out in the water, and then when we had to shuttle there too. And then Donnie was driving the track out there in the water and shooting rooster tails up or whatever. And here comes two canoes by, and they're going like this, and they're about ready to fall out of the boat or something. And Bob just yelled at him, "Yeah, that's right. Get off my river." And man, they just start paddling. They're going like, "I'm out of here."
That's a story.
You can't do that now. I mean, you can't go in there and do that now.
Somebody had a story Monday morning at work. You're not going to believe what happened when we were trying to go canoeing on the Black River. A fucking tank with a van body drove by and they capsized us. And this old man was yelling at us, shaking his fist.
Yeah, that's right.
So fast forwarding then from the 80s to the 90s stuff, how did you come to end up driving for Dan Patrick? I mean, and maybe I should just say working with Dan in general, but then how did that little window of time open up where you got to drive it some?
Well, I knew Dan, and we went from being at our shop, and I knew I wanted to stay into the monster trucks scene. So when I worked for Van Loo for just a little bit, did a couple shows for him, and then I called Patrick up, and he said, "Get on a plane." And to this day, possibly, Chris always will tell you this. Dan, everybody knows Dan. He's a great guy, but he won't take nothing. Frank, you know that. And
absolutely,
I would throw it right back at him, and he would laugh. And that's what Chris said. He wanted you around because you could just make him laugh. Like, you got to have fun. Well, anyway, then he got busy building trucks for Pace or whatever it was that year. So then he put me behind the wheel, and I drove. And I hated that Linko. I hated that damn thing. And every time I'd drive it, I'd throw reverse out. And it'd be by myself trying to put it together, try to get it. But that thing had some and when that back end would drop out, you could never tell when it was hitting the ground.
You'd feel the straps grab. You feel the straps grab. Yeah.
You drove it. I mean, and it was, and Dan said it really helped him to watch the truck too. And then when I was crewing for him, when we went to Bloomsburg, and that was when we laid that time down in the fours, I guess. And I just kept him pumped up, we just kept filling with the fuel and doing this stuff. And it just, you finally get that combination where everything's going to work. And in the rest of the year, we couldn't find our ass with both hands. But one weekend, man, everything was just, I mean, when he calls up, was it Iski? Cry or somebody in California said hey, this is Patrick, blah, 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 McEwen. I need a cam that used to be this grind, blah, 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 blah. And by the end of the next week, we had a cam sitting there. Well, you ain't going to do that now.
No.
I mean, Dan knew his stuff. And sadly, when I was there at his open house this past October, right after that is when my health issue started up. And I'm like, I ain't coming out here to visit you no more because all this stuff falls apart. But yeah, his operation it's way up there. And
absolutely,
anybody knows him. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved, and we talked about it. We talked about moving there, and I'd moved back here to Jefferson City. But then after that last crash I had, I thought, somebody's trying to tell me something. I need to get out of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love pulling wrenches. I love pulling wrenches for Cody and them on Monster Jam. And Cody even gave me shit one time up in St. Louis, and I was still putting the truck back together, and everybody else had left except for one crewman and him. And he's like, "Look at this guy. This guy will be here till." Well, yeah, I said, "Yeah, that's what you got to do. It's your guy." And they go, "Well, they got tired and went back to hotel." No, you don't do that shit.
Yeah,
that's not the way things work. And
you don't go to bed until the truck is moving and running.
Yeah.
You don't know until it's 100%. You don't go to bed.
Yeah, and I think they're like that now. You know that.
Yep.
But now you got teams that, I mean, it's completely different now. It's not like it was when we were all going together back in the day. But yeah, there's stories, and like I said, that's what Bob said at the Hall of Fame meeting one time, and me and my wife Susan was standing there, and I think Lonnie Childress was standing there, and Bob, and we were talking about these stories that you're even asking me questions about, and we said, yeah, and the difference between then is these are the stories that built the monster trucks to where they're at.
Yeah.
Today's drivers that you see on TV, and that's what I relate to about the airport. We missed our flight. They don't have the stories, but they're making a hell of a living. And the only time you got to ride an airplane or something back in Bigfoot's days was when you got hurt really bad. And then I had to stay in the airport just to catch the flight home with Bob. The rest of the time you rode in that semi. You all know that. You just mounted up and took off. And you don't have that like it is back then. And it's not a shame. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great for the industry to be where they're at, but you just won't have the stories.
Well, I will say this, and Matt is experienced and savvy enough that he'll appreciate this and empathize with it. But the three of us know, and especially Gene and I, driving, I mean, we've driven some of the same Bigfoot trucks. I mean, when you drove 10, it was virtually the same as when I drove it, except, I had conventional shock arrangement in the rear, not cantilever, but otherwise basically the same. There's nothing quite like the feeling of good and bad both when you've gotten the shit beat out of you by a monster truck and then you had to put the thing away and then load it up and then get on the road and start driving somewhere. And, I'm fortunate enough, and I'm sure the same was with Eugene, we didn't lose too terribly often, and which was nice. If you did lose, boy, you were just fucking sour. You were glad you were by yourself and you didn't want to talk to nobody. But if you'd won the race and gotten the tar kicked out of you, you knew you were paying a little bit of a price, even if it was going to be collected later on down the road. But you can't replace that feeling. And I think, Frank, you can echo me on this too. I mean, yes, it's exhausting and it's not always the happiest, vocational pursuit, but I can't imagine catching a cab to the airport while my monster truck was still on four big tires. I can't imagine strolling through the airport and savoring the victory I just had versus knowing that I unloaded my shit, I won with my shit, I loaded it back up, and I'm hauling it to the next stop. There's a degree of satisfaction in that I think anybody that's, been a hired gun like Gene and I were, or independents or whatever, that's a feeling that, the fly-in drivers have this whole other world they operate in. And again, like Gene said, I'm not taking anything away from it. All I'm doing is comparing the apple and the orange here. But the world we lived in certainly made for some stories. I mean, it felt like being in a rock and roll band, sometimes a one-man rock and roll band on tour,
Well, Cody Saucier, when I first got hooked up with him after his mom said I needed to get with him, he was probably one of the few that would stay there until the truck was loaded up or put back together before he would go back to the hotel. One of the few that I ran with when I was working with that. And Thin Man, and although, they'd stay up all night long, it's just totally different, which I'm not going to say which side. I'd probably be on, it'd be 50-50 probably now. I don't think my head would be, my wife had said my head's that big, but of course they've already drilled it and let some of it out. But, I don't think I could do that because we all had to grow up wrenching on them ourselves. And we weren't just, there is some great drivers out there on the circuit now, whether it doesn't have to be the Monster Jam circuit. I know when Josh worked for Bigfoot, he knew every truck. He was a fan growing up, and he knew those trucks. And I know, like, when I had 10 in Bloomsburg that one year, on my second qualifying pass, we bottomed it out, broke both cantilevers off the back, tore a bunch of stuff up. So Pizzo was there. Of course, everybody else are coming over at the truck, sitting in the pits. Looks like a North Carolina squat truck, It's all the hell. And we're looking at it, thinking about everything that was going on. And everybody left and went to the eat and then go back. Well, Gary Sleen, and that was the weekend I got knocked out, dehydrated by the barefoot truck. But leading up to that, we replaced both cantilevers, all the shocks, seen a tranny cracked, put a transmission in, the mid plates was busted, took those out, put a motor in, stayed up probably till 3 a.m, finished it the morning, and then when everybody come driving in, here's the truck sitting there ready to go. And you could just feel the air come out of them. They're like, what do we got to do to beat this team?
Yep.
But when Bob Chandler, when we went to those events, we were on the same scales what they're at now when Fleet or Monster Jam has their own tractor, whatever. That's what we did back then. 30, 40 years ago, that's what we did. We took everything because there wasn't, obviously we had Ford and several other big sponsors, BDS, Firestone, that we had to keep happy. And we probably lost money every weekend, but we weren't going to walk out of there unless we gave everything to it. And that's the way it used to be. And that's what I grew up on. That's what made me a better person, I think, in the world today. Bob, Jim, all the people that I met over the years, in between, you had to meet the sponsor and then you had to drive the truck. And it wasn't just one or the other. You weren't just a marketing person and got the deal. You had to do everything. And I think it made me the person that I am.
What's pretty incredible is, coming out of high school like I did to work for the Hall brothers, they had been so inspired by the way you guys did things at Bigfoot in the 90s. And Tim was not shy about calling it what it was. They rode around getting their asses kicked, slowly getting better. But every time Executioner got faster, so did Barefoot, so did Bigfoot, so did Monster Patrol. But Tim, I think really, and I'm not putting words in his mouth necessarily, but he really admired and came to emulate how Bigfoot went about their business in the 90s at those things. And I think there was a similarity with how we went to business in the early 2000s at the Jamborees and Pro MT and stuff like that with Raminator and Ramunition. And it's a very similar story to what you said about replacing all those parts on 10 at Bloomsburg. And, we were, I want to say for us, it might have been Lima, but, we had some catastrophic driveline breakage and stuff with one of the trucks. And we're up, till the wee hours of the night trying to fix this stuff. And I remember hearing, and they shall go unnamed, but I remember hearing, another team that had their yellow truck parked on the other side of our hauler. And they're over there cracking jokes about us, running air guns and compressors and shit late in the night, keeping them awake. And I just remember Timmy looking at us and he's saying, he goes, the most depressing thing those guys are going to discover tomorrow morning wasn't that they didn't get enough sleep. It's that this sumbitch was ready to whip them when they woke up. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yep, I like that attitude. Like, that was very impressioned, I was an impressionable kid, so that was a big impression on me at that time. But you realize that goes back to when you and Dan and Andy are out there. You got that murderer's row of Bigfoot trucks out there and Snake Bite, obviously. And it's just like you said, what do we got to do to beat these guys? And chances are, if somebody got by you, that might have been the biggest win they had of the year. Where for you guys, that was just a setback towards a bigger goal. And it's a cool feeling when you get so used to winning that one round loss is enough to ruin your day, because that's a privilege. For some guys, they've never had the opportunity or the equipment or the support to go rounds. So even just winning one round is a big deal to them. So when winning in the finals is your ultimate goal every single day that you go to the track, that's a fortunate place to be at. You certainly, visited victory lane in those situations more often than not, I think.
Well, the thing even back then for me, and I can't say anything with today, we had to staff at the shop, but you knew when you left Hazelwood, your truck was ready to go. Roy, Jay, John, shops, everything was ready to go. They would look at who had to leave first, get that truck ready to go. And they bitch and moan about how everything was tore up. But by God, when you loaded up, you knew what you had when you got to the show. So there was not a doubt. And that's what I really learned. But then by working with guys like Donnie Van Loo and even Dan being independent, you learn how to make your stuff to the end of the race. And that goes a lot from Breen. We had budgets, even though it wasn't called a budget. You knew. And I think a lot of generation now, they just get thrown in the seat of a truck and they don't really understand how this whole thing got to where we're at now.
Yeah.
That's what Bob even said last year. It wasn't just 50 years for Bigfoot. It was 50 years for monster trucks.
Definitely.
And a lot of people don't listen to that. He kept saying it and saying it. It's like, yes, go back and look. It's 50 years of monster trucks. I mean, they were 4 weeks at first, but go back and look. You'll have all the information you need.
Well, as we kind of start to wrap this up, Gene, we want to pay some personal respect to you here, but we've covered a lot of the we've covered a lot of the battles that you fought and won, on the racetracks and with Snake Bite and Bigfoot. But as much as you feel comfortable, because I know folks are always asking us and they're pinging you on social media and stuff like that. But it's because we love you and because we care. But kind of update us where you're at on your health battle that you're fighting, and let people know. Because you talked to me about this yesterday, and I want to sing these people's praises, but let us know a little bit about these great folks that have been taking care of you, and how your wife's been helping you and things like that.
Oh my God, the outpouring of fans that have reached out, not only to me, to my wife, Susan. After I got out of monster trucks, I joined the sheet metal workers, Local 36. And in the winter months, we might get a little slow, and then that's when I met up with Cody and him, and I'd help pull wrenches at different Monster Jam events. It was close, Kansas City, St. Louis, Des Moines, went to World Finals 3 years in a row, helped drive trucks off the tracks. I've always stayed in the monster trucks. There might be a year I might not go, but I'm always trying to tune in online. Well, this past fall, I went to Patrick's open house, and when I got back home, I felt like I had a kind of a sinus thing, and everybody's going through that. We had a really dry summer, and the older you get, you find all these ailments that you've got popping up. And the guy at work was coughing really bad, and he said he was going to go to the doctor about it. We call those urgent cares. So I made a delivery into Jefferson City, which where our shop was at, like 10 miles outside town, and on the way back to the shop, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I stopped at this urgent care. There's nobody in the parking lot. I said, well, that's good. I walked in there and told him. They said, you'll be out of here in 10 minutes. Sounds great. I got to get back to work. Even my wife knows how much I work. They said, you'll get a shot and you'll be on your way. Okay. Went back behind the magic curtain. Go back there, and the nurse back there, yeah, we'll get you a shot and we'll send you on your way. Sounds great. And then the nurse practitioner guy come in and asked me a bunch of questions. And one of the questions he asked me was, did you have any pain? And I said, yeah, every once in a while I feel like something was pushing behind my left eye. Not every day, just maybe once a week, nothing serious. Maybe pop an aspirin or two. And I kept working. He goes, I'm going to send you to get a CT scan. I'm comfortable with telling everybody this. Go, listen to your body. Go get checked. So he sent me across town here in Jefferson City. They go, what are you here for? I don't know. Okay. Done a CT scan, and before I got back to work, which was 15 minutes away, they called me and said, get to Columbia, Missouri. We see a spot on your brain. And I just lost it. Called my wife, Susan. We both lost it. We hauled ass up to Columbia, Missouri. Did another MRI, and that's when they saw it. And we sat up there all week wondering what we did to deserve this. And then I ended up doing the doctor up there, Dr. Stephen Carr. Fantastic human being. He's been to Australia. He knows about monster trucks. Great, great person. And we did a surgery on that Friday. And I'm just like, whoa, we're going this fast. And he was just, everybody we've been dealing with since October has been super, 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 super fantastic. Well, anyway, I removed 95% of my tumor. I did chemo radiation, went through January, and there's still a little bit left in my head. So we've been seeing some physicians at Washington University in St. Louis. I've done some treatments and trials up there, and I've got another surgery scheduled for the middle of this month. And we're going to see where we go. I've been staying positive. RBC, Bob, Kramer, Eric Meager, yourself, Kyle, Tom Mintz, God bless him. I get phone calls from these guys. And they just call me up. How you doing? Jerry Richmond. I mean, God bless them. Everybody. I mean, there's probably 100 more people that, and I didn't want to talk about it at first. You know, Susan would take all the calls and my son, and I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging tough. I love talking about my days behind. I'm not giving. I'm not going to let this SOB win. But I'm telling you, and that's the same thing I told Tom. Don't let stuff like this. Don't ignore it. Don't walk away from stuff. Just go get it. I'm hoping we caught it early enough. I mean, that's it. I mean, I'm glad I made this 35, which I wasn't even thinking about 35 with Snake Bite. You know? But I love everybody, all you guys out there. You've been super fantastic. Bill Easterly, I talked to him, and I don't let a lot of people know. I know you guys will let know, and I'm cool with it. I mean, people send me messages, and I'm cool with it, but it just happened. Don't be afraid and run away from it, but don't read too much into it either. This is what it is. What it is what it was. You know, that guy up there, he made some pretty stuff that the doctors still can't figure out. So I'm cool with it. I'm cool with talking about it, but she knows a hell of a lot more than what I do. She'll tell me, all right, you're going to take this pill this week. Okay. And I try not to dig into it. I know a couple people that have had the same type of tumor. And I'm not going to spread no rumors. They could have done that shot. No, I don't know. I don't know what happened.
You had your hands in the snake oil too much, right?
Yeah. I'm cool with it, and I appreciate everybody that's reached out to me. And sometimes it might take me a week to get back to you because it's just I try not to think too much about it. And I retired from the union.
Yep.
And they said because stress is a big thing, and I retired April 1st. And my company, and I'm back doing some part-time stuff with them, but they all call me, they all check on me all the time, and they said, "Oh, you're not going to leave. It's April 1st. That's April Fool's Day." And I go, "Well, stress, and believe me, stress, guys. We all have it on any job that we do, and it was very stress. We were running over 100 and some guys where I was working at. We had jobs in 6 different states. Our industrial shop has never fallen off. When COVID was going on, we probably doubled the size of our company because there was a lot of people who wouldn't go to work. We picked up a lot of that as an industrial shop, and we're continuing that right now. But it's so stressful.
Yeah.
But since I got out of that, I've just become a new person. And I'm hoping this next step helps us out a bunch. I mean, right now I'm working with the can't think Novatune or something like that. I have to wear some things on my head, and they shoot like 2,000 pulses across your head every so many seconds. I mean, I could stand outside probably and you see lightning bolts shooting off. And they're supposed to cut back on the tumor if it tries to branch out what's left. It stops. Yeah. And I'm good with it. At first I wasn't, but I'm good with it. I mean, I've led a very blessed wife. I've got a fantastic wife. I've got two fantastic daughters. I've got a grandchild. I've got another one on the way in August. And my life up to this point and beyond is just going to be fantastic. I know it is. And I'm so proud of people like yourselves. I'll go back to what you said earlier, though. I hate it. You too, Frank. As a kid, you know.
Sorry.
That it makes me. And then Kyle sends me pictures of him standing next to me in Kansas City. And I'm like, oh, God, man. I feel old. Well, then when I tell people how old I am, they go, well, you don't look that old. And I'm like, well, thank you very much. Let me give you a hug. Here's $5.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? It's hard not to get a little, reflective in this moment as we're coming off you telling such a personal and an important story with us all. But I think about that picture of me as an 8-year-old kid with you at Arrowhead. But then I think of this though. But then I go to work, for the same company, however many years later. And I've got that little video Colby shot of me moving Bigfoot 5 for the first time up on the mound, and you put your mask on and you're up there throwing fangs at me just because that was your way of telling me to lighten up, Francis, because like I was, I mean, the first time you drive an apartment on 10-foot tires, it's a little unnerving, right? And no one's there to see you if you screw up. So, you threw me a look like that. And I remember you texting me, right before I raced as Snake Bite for the first time out in Red Bluff. And, just the words of encouragement you gave me the day my time ended at Bigfoot, and the fact we've stayed in touch. You've kind of been there with me in a way for so long. Now you see me with an 8-year-old of my own who's going to come see you this summer and wants to meet Colt Cobra herself because Dad got to when he was 8. And then here I am.
You screwed up last year and you didn't bring her. See, that was your fault.
I tell you what, the little one was not happy with us. I can tell you that. That's redemption tour is in effect later this summer. But I think that shirt I sent you, is part of your little care package from us earlier in the year. What an honor that is for me that I saw you at that race, and then I designed you your own custom shirt commemorating, your straight line victory at that race. So I tell you what, and we didn't even get to USA Motorsports talk tonight, which was supposed to be the topic du jour of the season.
Yeah.
But your stories and your personal side are so important. I'm sorry, you're screwed. You got to come back on with us again.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Frank, and you guys know, back then, though, we had so many different promoters. We had Beckley and all those guys. And some of them have come back since then. But one time you might be at a big stadium, and the next time you're at a hockey arena, and you're not the star of the show. The Pullers were still the star of the show. So that's what's made Bigfoot that's where they've put them at, So you learn so much where now, I mean, yes, the Hot Wheels thing is really starting to take some good stuff here stateside, I hope. It's taken a long time to build that. But when the other company bought out all those smaller promoters, that's the only show that you had to go to. I mean, I'm very proud of all the fans that are still continuing supporting the monster trucks, but who built it to where it's at? We don't have that, but it is coming. It is coming back. It's just taking a lot longer, and I hope it's here for another 50 or 100 years. I really do. I mean, I'm very, very proud to be I feel like I was a little part of it. And when people tell those stories, then you're a bigger part.
Yeah, two little parts of it.
Hey, Frank, now, and my wife will straighten my ass out after this too, and then I'll get off here. But you need to go research that. And I'd forgotten all about this, but that come from Golden Girls back in the day.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for being my friend, Colt Cobra.
Yeah.
No problem, so Frank has a dinosaur body, Mega Rex, and of course T-Rexes have small arms. So Frank does this, except he just has to go. Yeah,
I have to do this.
Oh, okay, yeah. That looks kind of gropey, Frank. Maybe just stick to the.
Maybe this.
There you go.
We're talking about these dinosaurs about being extinct. No wonder you're extinct. You're the biggest, baddest dinosaur there is, but then you got these little bitty arms.
Hands and arms.
What a pain in the ass it is to even drink a beer with arms that short.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's my pleasure. Yeah. I'll just, you're never bugging me. Don't feel like you're never, you guys, anybody. I might not answer right away, but God bless everybody. I appreciate all the outpouring. We did a benefit already this year with the Johnses from over at Granite City, and they grew up around monster trucks. We had an online, we sold a bunch of old stuff, talking about a lot of the old Snake Bite stuff that we sold on there went out the roof.
Yeah.
And I donated all the money to the cancer center in Columbia, Missouri.
That's awesome.
And there's real people out there still that believe in this old school stuff, and
Yep.
believe in your driver, get to know who your driver is, and then follow them and stay with them. Don't get hooked on electronic stuff, lose yourself in the phone. Don't go to the show because you want to watch it on the phone. Spend the money. Go to some of these smaller shows, and you're going to see some of the most greatest stuff you've ever witnessed in your life. And they loaded the truck up and went home.
Yep.
Yep.
On their own time and their own dime.
And sometimes that's a better show than some of these other ones when they're carrying around trailers just to load up all this crap.
Yeah. Well, listen, buddy, I speak for everybody on the show and everybody that helps us out with OSMT. We're with you, man. We're riding with you. We're tucked into the bed of Snake Bite, and we're however many sheds we have to run over to get you to where we need to get you, man. We're in for that. We're in for the wild ride. But we love you, dude. We love you. I know I miss you. The girls ask about you every week, so we're excited. We're gonna come back and see you, later on in the summer, and we just keep wishing you all the best. We hope you have a great time at the open house this weekend. This episode, all being well, is dropping the day before the open house later this week. So we're going to get this out to the people so they can get caught up on all things Gene Patterson, and then have a great weekend with you down there in Pacific with the folks at Bigfoot. So keep an eye out for him with glasses, Professor Cobra, with glasses now.
I appreciate it. I really do. I kept it together tonight. I've had some down moments, but I look back on everything and it's fantastic. I'm just not letting it in.
You know what? You're allowed to feel the way you need to feel. That's how we believe it.
He's carrying a sickle and he's got a robe on. And I can run faster than that son of a buck. So,
hey, you beat the Gravedigger 3 times in Houston. Let's get him again.
Yep. There you go.
Get it down.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
It.
Well, listen, this is the final episode of the season here on Bottom Dead Center on the Old School Monster Trucks YouTube channel. Our beloved friend, longtime friend, Mr. Gene Patterson, joined us this evening. So thank you again, Gene. Thanks to everybody that's tuned in all season long. I say it's the last episode. We might just have a little surprise up our sleeves for you in a week or two's time. So don't quit watching the channel. Keep an eye out. Get back through the archives. Check out all the cool shows. Lots of footage of Gene driving on our channel and various shows. So dig into those. And if nothing else, we'll see you come time for season 4 after the summer when we get through our break. And we'll be back here on the Old School Monster Trucks YouTube channel. This has been the Bottom Dead Center Show. For Gene Patterson, Matt Looker, Frank Krimmel, myself, all of the rest of our OSMT crew, cheers. Thanks for supporting us, and we'll see you on the other side.
onward north south, coming to you live from the Calgary settlement, where last night the Bigfoot had some problems. We now go down to Texas, where we'll talk with Gene Patterson, head crew chief for Bigfoot.
And now, Mean Gene, down to you trackside.
As you know, we had a lot of problems with the motor last night. Andy's in there warming it up right now. We've been up all night long crashing on this truck, trying to get every ounce of horsepower we can. It's sounding pretty good tonight. We're up to about 766 cubic in.